Not everyone could understand the talking drums these days because they weren't used very often, and the young people hadn't learnt their language, but everyone knew that something important must be happening. Hearing the drums, the older people stopped and listened, and then passed the message on. We must all meet in the village of Ruga at the 11th hour under the Tamarind tree. In Rwanda, the day begins at 6 in the morning, so the 11th hour was 5 in the afternoon. It was a good time to meet, for school was over and the markets finished, but it was still light. Ishimwe, who was 12 years old, was selling clothes at the market a few miles from her home in the village of Hope when the drums began to beat. Although she didn't understand their message, other stall holders told her what they were saying. There was a buzz of excitement in the marketplace, and almost everybody began to pack up their goods. It was quite a long walk home for Ishimwe along the dusty road. She wanted to prepare the evening meal before she went to the meeting. She was just about to unlock the door of the little house where she lived with her 2 younger brothers, Shema and Magi, when she heard her best friend and neighbour, Frida, call out to her. "Did you hear the drums?" Frida asked. "Auntie Delphine has been round to tell us to go to the meeting under the tamarind tree in Ruga." Auntie Delphine was the social worker who supervised the children who lived in the village of Hope. This special village had been built for child-led families who had no parents to look after them. They had been orphaned in the terrible war which had devastated the country a few years earlier. Since then, Ishimwe and Frida had both become mothers to their younger brothers and sisters. "I heard the drums," said Ishimwe. "I wonder what the meeting is all about. It must be very important. People in the market were saying that it's probably a message from the government. As soon as the others get home from school, let's go to Ruga together," suggested Frida. Ishimwe agreed. Ishimwe sang as she ground the millet and prepared the meal in her little home. At the market, she'd managed to sell quite a few of the clothes she'd made, and so she sang a happy song of thanks to God. She was a skilled dressmaker, and although she did not own a sewing machine, she was able to use one which belonged to the mother of her brother's best friend, Sam. Sam and Mama Grace lived in Ruga with her elderly parents. The 2 families were great friends, and Mama Grace helped them a lot. As soon as the younger children arrived home from school, the 2 families set off for Ruga. The children had heard the talking drums at school, and their teachers had told them the message. By the time the little group reached Ruga, a large, noisy crowd had gathered under the large tamarind tree in the centre of the village. People who lived nearby had brought out benches from their homes and placed them around the tree. These were for the elderly to sit on, and also for the important people who had called the meeting. Shema looked round to see if he could spot the old people, as Sam's grandparents were called. He saw them sitting on a bench, and Mama Grace and Sam were standing near them. Shema beckoned Ishimwe and the others to join them. People were arriving from all directions. Men and women coming straight from their gardens carrying hoes, others coming from the market and from work. There were children from several schools, the policeman, the pastor and his wife and family. In fact, everyone Ishimwe knew was there, and many people she'd never seen before. There was a great sense of excitement. Why had they been called to this meeting? What was going to happen? Would it be good news, or would it be more taxes and more forms to fill in? After a few minutes, a large black car with tinted windows drove up. Several important-looking people got out of the car and came to the benches which had been reserved for them. The village elder welcomed them, and they were invited to speak. A very tall young man in a smart grey suit stood up and greeted the crowd. He thanked them for coming and began to explain the reason for the visit. "I have some very good news for you all,"